I stared at my bank statement, reading and rereading the numbers until they blurred into meaningless shapes. Zero. The account that had held my future was empty, leaving nothing but a hollow ache in my chest where hope used to live. My name is Veronica, and I spent 10 years building that marriage fund. Every birthday check, every summer job paycheck, every bonus from my weekend tutoring gigs, all carefully saved since I was 13. Mom had called it my smart girl fund back then, praising my dedication while she helped me make my weekly deposits. "Honey, are you still working?" Brandon's voice carried from the kitchen, where he was making us dinner. "The pasta's almost ready." I couldn't answer. My throat felt too tight, my hands trembling as I clutched my phone. The banking app showed a transfer to Ross Industries LLC, my mother's company, made just 3 hours ago. "Veronica?" Brandon appeared in the doorway, wiping his hands on a dish towel. His smile faded when he saw my face. "What's wrong?" "She took it," I whispered. "All of it. $48,000. Gone." Brandon crossed the room in 3 quick strides, sitting beside me on the couch. "What do you mean? Who took it?" "My mother." The words tasted bitter. "She cleaned out my marriage fund." My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Family meeting tonight. Dinner at 7. Important news to share." I showed Brandon the message, and he wrapped an arm around my shoulders. "Maybe there's an explanation. Your mom wouldn't just..." "Wouldn't she?" I stood up, pacing the small living room of my apartment. "Let's go find out." The drive to my parents' house felt surreal. Brandon offered to come with me, but this was something I needed to face alone. The familiar colonial-style home loomed before me, warm lights glowing in the windows like nothing was wrong. Mom opened the door before I could knock, wearing her signature red lipstick and perfectly pressed blazer. "Darling, perfect timing. I just opened a bottle of champagne." I followed her into the dining room, where she'd laid out an elaborate spread. "Where's Dad?" "Business trip to Seattle," she said, pouring champagne into crystal flutes. "But this couldn't wait. I have amazing news." My hands clenched into fists under the table. "Does it have anything to do with the $48,000 you took from my account?" She didn't even flinch. "Oh, that!" She waved her hand dismissively. "Yes, I needed to make an emergency investment, but don't worry, it's going to pay off beautifully. I've finally secured the merger with Fleming Industries." "You needed to make an investment?" My voice shook. "That was my money, Mom. My marriage fund. You had no right." "Darling, don't be dramatic." She pushed a champagne flute toward me. "This is family money, and family takes care of family. The merger will triple our company's value within a year. I'll pay you back double." "I never agreed to loan you anything." I stood up so quickly my chair toppled backward. "You stole from me!" Mom's perfectly manicured fingers tightened around her glass. "I did not steal. I made an executive decision as your mother. This merger will secure our family's future. Your future." "My future?" I laughed, the sound harsh and foreign to my own ears. "The only thing you've secured is the death of any trust I had in you." "You're being childish," she snapped. "This is business. Sometimes we have to make hard decisions." "No," I cut her off. "This isn't business. This is betrayal, pure and simple." Her expression hardened. "When you're older, you'll understand. Sometimes parents have to make difficult choices for their children's benefit." I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. "The only thing I understand is that you saw my dreams as nothing more than convenient capital for your ambitions." "Veronica," she called after me. "Don't walk away from this opportunity. The merger." I spun around at the door. "Keep your merger, Mom, and keep the money. Consider it the price I paid to finally see you clearly." The drive home was a blur. When I finally pulled into my parking spot, I sat in the car, letting the tears fall freely. My phone buzzed repeatedly, Mom's name flashing on the screen, but I ignored it. Instead, I called Prudence, my best friend since college. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey V, what's up? Remember how you always said I should start my own business instead of working for someone else?" I wiped my eyes, a plan already forming in my mind. I think I'm ready to talk about that. Really? I could hear the excitement in her voice. What changed? I watched the sun setting over the city skyline, feeling something shift inside me. Everything, I said. Everything changed. 3 days after my mother's betrayal, I sat across from Prudence at our favorite coffee shop, laptops open and ideas flowing. The bitter aroma of espresso filled the air as we brainstormed business concepts, my pain slowly transforming into purpose. Digital marketing is exploding right now, Prudence said, tapping her perfectly manicured nails against her keyboard. And with your content creation background and my tech experience, we could build something real. I took a sip of my latte, considering. You really think we could compete with the big agencies? We don't need to compete with them, not yet. We start small, focus on local businesses, build our reputation. She turned her laptop toward me, showing a spreadsheet of potential startup costs. Look, we could launch with minimal overhead. My phone buzzed. Another message from Mom. I'd stopped reading them after the 20th apology. That wasn't really an apology. She's still trying to contact you? Prudence asked, noticing my grimace. Yeah, Brandon says I should at least hear her out, but I shook my head. I can't deal with her right now. This is more important. The bell above the coffee shop door chimed, and I froze. Mom walked in, spotting me immediately. Of course she'd known where to find me. I'd been coming here every Wednesday morning for years. Veronica, darling. She approached our table, acting as if nothing was wrong. I've been trying to reach you. Oh, hello, Prudence. Prudence gave me a questioning look. I nodded slightly, and she started packing up her things. I'll give you some privacy. No, I said firmly. Stay. Mom, what do you want? Mom pulled up a chair, uninvited. The merger is proceeding beautifully. Annika, you remember Mrs. Fleming. She's already talking about expanding into international markets. Your investment is going to pay off tremendously. My investment? I laughed incredulously. You mean the money you stole? Borrowed, she corrected, smiling at the barista who glanced our way. And as I said, it will be worth double when… Stop! I closed my laptop with more force than necessary. Just stop! You didn't borrow anything. You took my money without asking, without permission, and you're acting like I should be grateful? I'm trying to secure your future. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. This merger will change everything. In fact, I was thinking you could come work for the company. We'll need someone to handle our social media presence. Are you serious right now? I stood up, gathering my things. You steal my savings and then try to recruit me? Prudence touched my arm gently. V, maybe we should… No. I faced my mother directly. I don't want your job. I don't want your money. And I definitely don't want your version of family loyalty that only seems to flow in one direction. Mom's perfectly composed facade cracked slightly. You're being unreasonable. This is business. Everything's business with you, isn't it? I slung my bag over my shoulder. Well, here's some business advice. Don't invest other people's money without their consent. It's called fraud. The color drained from her face. You wouldn't dare suggest… No, I wouldn't press charges. Because unlike you, family actually means something to me. I turned to Prudence. Ready? Outside, the spring air felt clean and fresh compared to the tension-filled coffee shop. Prudence linked her arm through mine as we walked. You okay? She asked. Actually, yeah. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. I have about 12,000 in my personal savings. Not much, but it's a start, Prudence finished. I can match that. Plus, I know some potential clients who've been asking about social media management. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Brandon. Hey, beautiful. How'd the business planning go? It's happening, I told him, feeling a surge of excitement. We're really doing this. Can you come over tonight? I want to run some ideas by you. Already on my way with takeout and wine, he replied. Prudence coming too? I looked at my friend, who nodded enthusiastically. Yeah, we've got work to do. That evening, surrounded by Chinese food containers and business plans, I felt something I hadn't expected. Gratitude. Mom's betrayal had pushed me to finally chase my own dreams instead of living up to her expectations. To new beginnings, Brandon raised his wine glass. To showing them what we can do, Prudence added. I clinked my glass against theirs, a smile spreading across my face. To building something that's actually ours. Later, after they'd left, I sat on my balcony, watching the city lights. Another text from Mom lit up my phone. Darling, please be reasonable. Family has to stick together. I deleted the message without responding. She was right about one thing. Family should stick together. But first, they have to earn that trust. 6 months into running our digital marketing agency, I sat across from Michael, our financial advisor, trying not to fidget as he reviewed our numbers. Well, he said, looking up from his tablet, your growth rate is impressive, but we're stretched too thin, I finished. The dark circles under my eyes told that story clearly enough. Michael nodded. You need to hire. Working 18-hour days isn't sustainable, even with Prudence sharing the load. Hiring means payroll, I sighed, and benefits, and training time we don't have. Oh, it also means scaling up. He turned his tablet toward me, showing a projection graph. Look, you've landed 15 clients in 6 months. That's fantastic, but you're hitting a ceiling. My phone buzzed. A text from Brandon. Meeting done yet? Dinner's getting cold. Almost, I replied quickly, then turned back to Michael. What would you suggest? Take out a small business loan. Your numbers are solid enough to qualify, and no! The word came out sharper than I intended. No loans. We bootstrap or nothing. Michael raised an eyebrow. This isn't about your mother's company, is it? I hadn't told him the full story, but news traveled fast in business circles. Mom's merger with Fleming Industries was making waves, not all of them good. This is about doing things right, I said firmly. Our way. Fair enough. He started typing. Then let's talk about maximizing your current resources. An hour later, I rushed into Brandon's apartment, where he waited with reheated pasta and understanding eyes. That bad? He asked, pulling out a chair for me. Actually, no. I grabbed a fork. Michael thinks we're doing well. Too well, maybe. We need to hire, but you're scared of taking on debt, Brandon finished. You know, not every loan is a betrayal waiting to happen. I stopped mid-bite. That's not what this is about, isn't it? He reached across the table, taking my hand. Babe, I've watched you work yourself to exhaustion these past months. You're proving something. I get it. But at what cost? Before I could respond, my phone rang. Prudence's name flashed on the screen. V, turn on the business news, now. Brandon grabbed the remote, switching to the financial channel. There was my mother, standing beside Anika Fleming at a press conference. The ticker at the bottom read, Ross Industries faces investigation over merger irregularities. Allegations of misappropriated funds and investor misconduct, the reporter was saying. Sources claim several key stakeholders were misled about company valuations. Holy shit, Brandon whispered. My phone buzzed again. Mom calling this time. I let it go to voicemail. V? Prudence's voice crackled through the speaker. What do we do? This could affect us by association. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. Call Michael. Get him to draft a statement clarifying that our agency has no connection to Ross Industries. Then call every client personally first thing tomorrow. Full transparency. On it, she said. Want me to come over? No, stay focused. We've got work to do. I hung up and looked at Brandon. I need to go to the office. He was already grabbing his keys. I'll drive. At midnight, I sat in our small office space, drafting emails while Brandon brought coffee. Prudence worked remotely, updating our website to include a clear statement about our company's independent ownership. Your mother called again, Brandon said softly, setting a cup beside me. Let her, I kept typing. She made her choices. I'm making mine. A knock at the office door made us both jump. Michael stood there, looking surprisingly alert for the late hour. Thought you might need this, he said, holding up a folder. Complete breakdown of your company's financial independence, certified by my firm. And He pulled out a business card, a contact at the Times. They might be interested in a story about young entrepreneurs succeeding through ethical business practices. I stared at him. You came all the way here at midnight to bring us this? He shrugged. Good people doing good work deserve support. Besides, he smiled, I have a feeling your company's about to get a lot more attention. The right kind. As he left, Brandon wrapped his arms around me from behind. See? Not everyone in business is out to get you. I leaned back against him, watching our company logo glow on the computer screen. Maybe you're right. About everything. About hiring? Taking calculated risks? Yeah. I pulled up our financials. First thing tomorrow, we start interviewing. But we do it smart. No loans, but we use what we have better. Michael showed me some options. Brandon kissed the top of my head. That's my girl. Now, how about we get some sleep? Tomorrow's going to be busy. Looking at the mess of papers and coffee cups around us, I smiled. This wasn't the path I'd planned, but maybe it was better. This was something I was building, not something being built for me, or despite me. Sleep can wait, I said, turning back to my computer. We've got an empire to build. 1 year into running our agency, I stood in front of a room full of potential investors, presenting our latest quarterly results. The confidence in my voice surprised even me. We'd grown from 15 clients to 50, hired 6 full-time employees, and moved into real offices downtown. And that concludes our presentation, I said, clicking to the final slide. Any questions? A familiar voice from the back of the room made my blood freeze. I have one. Mom stood up, looking immaculate as always, though slightly thinner than I remembered. Your growth projections are impressive, but have you considered the benefits of a strategic partnership with a larger firm? Prudence tensed beside me. We hadn't spoken to my mother since the merger scandal broke, though her company had somehow survived the investigation. We're not currently seeking partnerships, I replied professionally. Next question. Actually, Mom pressed on, I've been following your success closely. Ross Industries could offer significant resources. Thank you for your interest, I cut her off, but we're maintaining our independence. Now, does anyone have questions about our actual presentation? The meeting wrapped up shortly after, with several investors expressing genuine interest. As people filed out, Mom approached the podium. Darling, you can't ignore me forever. Watch me. I started packing up my laptop. Your company is doing well, she continued, but imagine what we could accomplish together. The merger difficulties are behind us now, and… Mom. I finally looked at her directly. Stop. This isn't about business. This is about you trying to control what you can't have. I'm trying to help. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. Veronica, please. I've learned from my mistakes. Let me prove it. Prudence appeared at my side. V, our next meeting starts in 15 minutes. There is no meeting, Mom said sharply. I checked your calendar with your assistant. You did what? I spun around. You went through our office? I had to. You won't return my calls, won't come to dinner. Because you stole from me. The words echoed in the empty conference room. And now you're trying to steal my company too? It's not stealing to want to help my daughter succeed. No, I said quietly. It's stealing when you take what isn't yours. My money then, my company now. Nothing's changed. A knock at the door interrupted us. Brandon stood there, concern etched on his face. Everything okay? I heard raised voices. Everything's fine, I said, grabbing my things. Mom was just leaving. Actually, Mom straightened her blazer. I have a proposition, a legitimate one. She pulled out a folder. Your company's reputation for social media management is outstanding. Ross Industries needs that expertise. I'm prepared to offer. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. Do you really not see what you're doing? Using business as an excuse to force your way back into my life? That's not… It is. I moved toward the door. And the answer is no. No to business, no to dinner, no to all of it. Build your own success for once, instead of trying to co-opt mine. Brandon took my hand as we left, Prudence following close behind. In the elevator, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding. "You okay?" Brandon asked softly. "Actually, yeah." I squeezed his hand. "For the first time, I really am." Back in our office, Prudence pulled up our security settings. "I'm changing all the passwords and access codes. No more surprise visits from helicopter parents." Good. I sat at my desk, opening my email. And set up interviews for a new assistant, one who won't give out our calendar to random people claiming to be family. "Already on it." She paused. "V? You know she'll try again, right?" "Probably." I looked around our office, at the awards we'd won, the vision board covered in our goals, the team working diligently at their desks. But this? This is ours. We built it. No one gets to take that away. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "Heard about the investor meeting. 3 serious inquiries already. No strings attached." I smiled, showing the message to Prudence. "See? We don't need anyone's help, especially not hers." "Huh, speaking of help," Brandon called from the doorway. "Dinner at my place tonight? I'm making that pasta you love." "Can't," I replied, pulling up a client proposal. "Too much work." He walked over, closing my laptop gently. "The Empire will still be here tomorrow. Tonight, you need to breathe." Looking at his caring face, I felt the tension start to ease. "Okay, but I'm bringing my phone." "Wouldn't expect anything less," he laughed. "Now come on, boss lady. Rome wasn't built in a day." "No," I agreed, standing up. "But I bet they didn't have their mothers trying to hostile take over the construction site either." As we left the office, I caught my reflection in the window. Confident, strong, unafraid. Mom had taught me one valuable lesson after all. Sometimes the best success is the kind you build entirely on your own. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, just as I was finishing my second coffee. The sender's name made me pause. Anika Fleming. "Prudence," I called out. "Come look at this." She hurried over from her office, leaning over my shoulder to read. "Dear Veronica, I've been following your company's impressive growth with great interest. Perhaps we could meet for lunch? There's a business opportunity I'd like to discuss, one that doesn't involve your mother. Best regards, Anika Fleming." "Well, that's interesting," Prudence mused. "Isn't she the one who merged with my mother's company? Yeah." I drummed my fingers on the desk, and then somehow came out clean when the scandal broke. My phone rang. Brandon. "Hey, you see the news about Ross Industries?" I quickly pulled up a business news site. The headline made my stomach drop. "Ross Industries faces bankruptcy amid failed international expansion." "Holy shit," I whispered. "There's more," Brandon said. "Your dad just called me. Your mom's not answering her phone." Before I could respond, our office door burst open. Mom stood there, looking nothing like her usual polished self. Her makeup was smeared, hair disheveled. "Veronica, please." Her voice cracked. "I need your help." Prudence quietly closed my office door, giving us privacy. I took a deep breath. "Brandon, I'll call you back." Mom collapsed into the chair across from my desk. "Everything's falling apart. Annika, she played me. The international contracts were fake. The investors are pulling out. And you're here because you're successful." She leaned forward desperately. "Your company is thriving. If we could merge—" "Stop right there." I held up my hand. "You're not getting anywhere near my company. I'm your mother." "Yeah, the same mother who stole my savings and tried to take over my business." I stood up. "The same mother who's only here because she needs something." A knock at the door interrupted us. My assistant poked her head in. "Ms. Fleming is here for your lunch meeting?" Mom's head snapped up. "Annika? You're meeting with Annika?" "I haven't even responded to her email yet," I said, confused. But there she was, Annika Fleming, striding into my office like she owned it. "Veronica, darling!" She air-kissed my cheeks, completely ignoring Mom. "I hope you don't mind me dropping by. When you didn't respond immediately, I thought a personal touch might be better. You backstabbing witch, Mom snarled, rising from her chair. Annika smiled coldly. Alyssa, you're looking tired. Bankruptcy proceedings can be so stressful. Get out, I said quietly. Excuse me? Annika turned to me, surprised. Both of you, get out of my office. I pressed the intercom. Security, please escort my visitors out. But my offer, Annika protested. Let me guess, I cut her off. You want to buy into my company. Use us to finish what you started with Mom's business. Create a nice little empire for yourself? She recovered quickly, smoothing her designer jacket. I see you're as sharp as they say. Think about it, Veronica. With my resources and your talent, I said get out. Security appeared at the door. And don't contact me again. Either of you. After they were gone, Prudence rushed in. Are you okay? That was intense. No, I admitted, sinking into my chair. But I will be. I pulled up my email and started typing. What are you doing? Calling Michael. We need to review our security protocols, shareholding structure, everything. I looked up at her. They're both desperate now. Mom's losing everything, and Annika. She's like a shark smelling blood. Should we be worried? No, I said firmly, because we built this company right. No shortcuts, no schemes, no betrayals. My phone buzzed. Brandon asking if I was okay. We have something they never will. Integrity. Prudence sat on the edge of my desk. Your mom looked pretty rough. Yeah. I stared out the window at the city skyline. But she made her choices, just like I made mine. Speaking of choices, Prudence pulled up our calendar. We have that charity gala tonight. Still want to go? I thought about it for a moment. Actually, yes. Let's show everyone that we're not hiding, not worried, and definitely not for sale. Later that night, as Brandon and I got ready for the gala, he watched me adjust my dress in the mirror. You know, most people would be shaken after a day like today. I'm not most people. I turned to face him. And maybe that's the silver lining in all this. Mom taught me exactly what kind of businesswoman I don't want to be. He kissed me softly. Ready to go show them what kind of businesswoman you are? I grabbed my clutch, feeling stronger than ever. They won't know what hit them. The doorbell rang at 3 a.m., jolting me awake. Brandon stirred beside me, reaching for his phone. Who's here at this hour? He mumbled. I was already pulling on my robe, a sense of dread building in my stomach. Through the peephole, I saw my father standing there, looking exhausted. Dad? I opened the door. What's wrong? He stepped inside, his usually pristine suit wrinkled, his eyes red. Your mother's gone. What do you mean gone? Brandon appeared behind me, fully awake now. She left this morning, cleaned out our joint accounts, took her passport. Dad sank onto my couch. The police say they can't do anything. She's an adult who left voluntarily. I sat across from him, my mind racing. The bankruptcy proceedings are tomorrow. He rubbed his face. She was supposed to testify, without her there. Everything falls apart. I finished. My phone buzzed. Prudence. V, turn on the news. Now. Brandon grabbed the remote. The business channel showed footage of police outside Ross Industries headquarters. The ticker read, CEO Alyssa Ross missing. Millions unaccounted for. Jesus, Brandon whispered. My father's phone rang. He looked at the screen and handed it to me. She's calling. I can't. I just can't. With shaking hands, I answered. Mom? Darling. Her voice was eerily calm. I suppose everyone's looking for me? Where are you? Dad's here. He's worried sick. I need your help, Veronica. She spoke quickly now. I can make this all go away, but I need capital. Your company is doing so well. Stop. I gripped the phone tighter. You're asking me for money? Now? Just a loan. 2 million. That's all I need. I can fix everything. You can't fix this, Mom. You need to come home, face the consequences. Like you faced me? Her voice turned bitter. My own daughter, who wouldn't help when I needed it, who built her success on the ruins of my reputation. I built my success honestly, I was shouting now. Something you never understood. Then prove it. Help me now, show you're better than me. Please, Veronica, I'm your mother. Dad reached for the phone. Let me talk to her. But before I could hand it over, Mom spoke again. If you don't help me, I'll tell everyone how you built your client base using insider information from Ross Industries, how you stole our contacts. That's a lie. Does it matter? In business, perception is reality. You taught me that, remember? The line went dead. I stared at the phone, feeling sick. Brandon wrapped an arm around me. We need to call Michael. Already texting him, I said numbly. Dad, you should talk to the police. He nodded, standing slowly. I never thought. 30 years of marriage. After he left, Brandon held me while I shook with anger and fear. My phone buzzed constantly. News outlets wanting comments, clients checking in, Prudence coordinating our response. At sunrise, Michael arrived with our lawyer. They set up in my living room, papers spread everywhere. She can't hurt you, Michael assured me. Your company's records are spotless. We can prove every client came through legitimate channels. But the accusation alone could cause damage, our lawyer warned. We need to get ahead of this. How? I asked. Full transparency. He started typing on his laptop. We release all our client acquisition records, showing clear timelines. Meanwhile, we prep a statement distancing you from your mother's actions. Brandon brought coffee for everyone. What about the $2 million she wanted? That would be aiding and abetting, Michael said firmly. Plus, it would validate her threats. No, we fight this the right way. My phone rang again, an unknown international number. Don't answer, our lawyer warned. Let everything go through proper channels. I stared at the screen, remembering the day Mom first helped me open my savings account. Build something that lasts, she'd said then. Something that makes you proud. I am proud, I whispered to myself, declining the call. Just not in the way you wanted. Prudence burst through the door, laptop in hand. Emergency meeting at the office. Annika Fleming is giving a press conference in an hour. About what? Brandon asked. About how she tried to warn everyone about Mom's fraudulent activities. Prudence looked at me. And about how she has evidence that other companies might be involved. I stood up, suddenly energized. Let her try. We have nothing to hide. Michael gathered his papers. That's my girl. Sometimes the best defense is radical honesty. As we headed to the office, Brandon squeezed my hand. You okay? No, I admitted, but I'm done letting her control my life through fear. We fight back, the right way. The sun was fully up now, painting the city gold. Somewhere out there, Mom was running from her choices. But I was done running. It was time to stand and fight. Ms. Fleming's allegations are baseless, I stated firmly into the forest of microphones before me. Our company maintains the highest ethical standards, and we welcome any investigation into our business practices. The press conference room buzzed with questions. I'd chosen to hold it in our office building, on our terms. Prudence stood to my right, Brandon and Michael in the front row. What about your mother's claims regarding stolen client information? A reporter called out. Every single one of our client relationships can be traced to legitimate networking, referrals, and hard work. I gestured to the packets being distributed. We're releasing full documentation of our client acquisition process, verified by independent auditors. And your mother's current whereabouts? I have no knowledge of my mother's location or activities. I took a deep breath. However, I want to make one thing clear. This company stands on its own merits. We are not connected to Ross Industries or its current legal troubles. Suddenly, the back doors burst open. Annika strode in, flanked by two men in suits. Really? She called out loudly. No connection at all? Then perhaps you'd like to explain these? She held up a folder. My stomach dropped as I recognized it. The original business plans I'd drafted at my parents' house on Ross Industries' letterhead. Those documents were stolen from my private files, I said, keeping my voice steady. Were they? Annika smiled coldly. Or were they company property, used to build your competing business? Before I could respond, Michael stepped forward. Those documents were Ms. Ross's personal property, created on her own time. We have dated drafts and witnesses to prove it. Ladies and gentlemen, Annika addressed the reporters. I think you'll find these documents very interesting. They show nothing. A new voice cut through the chaos. Everyone turned. Dad stood in the doorway, holding his own folder. Those documents show nothing, except that my daughter had entrepreneurial dreams while working a summer job at her mother's company. Dreams she pursued legally and ethically. He walked to the podium, placing his folder beside me. What these papers show, he continued, pulling out a stack of documents, is the real fraud. Evidence of how you and my wife conspired to manipulate company valuations during the merger. Annika's smile faltered. That's absurd. The investigation cleared you because key evidence was hidden, Dad interrupted. Evidence I've now provided to the SEC and FBI. The room erupted in camera flashes and shouted questions. Security moved toward Annika as she backed away, her face ashen. This isn't over, she hissed at me before being escorted out. I turned back to the microphones. As you can see, we have nothing to hide. Our success comes from integrity, innovation, and hard work. Thank you for your time. In my office afterward, Dad hugged me tight. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I should have seen what was happening sooner. You did what you could, I said, pulling back. But Mom has been found, he said quietly. Dubai. The authorities are bringing her back. Prudence knocked and entered with her laptop. V, you need to see this. Our client retention numbers since the press conference, they're up. Way up. What? I looked at the screen. How is that possible? Because, Michael said, joining us, people respect honesty. Your transparency just proved every good thing we've been saying about this company. Brandon appeared with coffee for everyone. Plus, 3 major companies just reached out about potential contracts. Seems they appreciate working with a business that has nothing to hide. I sat at my desk, overwhelmed. Dad, will you be okay? When they bring her back? He straightened his tie, looking older but somehow stronger. I'll manage. The truth needed to come out. Your mother, she lost her way long ago. I just didn't want to see it. Speaking of truth, Prudence said, Annika's being questioned by the FBI right now. Apparently, your dad's evidence opened quite a few doors. Good. I stood up, walking to the window. Let them all face what they've done. We'll keep building something real. Brandon came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. You know what this means, right? You've won. No. I turned to face the room, my father finally standing up for what's right. Prudence, my partner in building something honest. Michael, who believed in us when others doubted. And Brandon, who never left my side. We've won. All of us. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom's number. I'm sorry for everything. Maybe someday you'll understand. I showed it to Dad, who shook his head sadly. She still doesn't get it, does she? No, I replied, deleting the message. But I do. I understand that success without integrity isn't success at all. Prudence raised her coffee cup. To integrity? To integrity, we all echoed. Outside my office window, the city stretched endlessly, full of possibilities. Mom had taught me what success shouldn't look like. Now it was time to show the world what it should be. The courthouse steps felt colder than usual as I waited for the verdict. Brandon held my hand while Prudence paced nearby, all of us watching the heavy doors. Whatever happens in there, Brandon whispered, you've already won. The doors opened. Dad emerged first, looking drained but relieved. Behind him, Mom was led out in handcuffs, her designer suit replaced by prison orange. Our eyes met briefly before she looked away. 7 years, Dad said quietly, reaching us, and full restitution to the investors. Annika had gotten 5 years in a separate trial last week. The empire they'd built on lies had finally crumbled completely. "Mr. Ramirez is waiting at the office," Prudence said, checking her phone. "The acquisition paperwork is ready." I nodded, taking one last look at Mom as they led her to the transport vehicle. She turned suddenly, calling out, "Veronica, wait!" Against my better judgment, I walked over. The guard kept a careful distance, but stayed close. "I get it now," she said softly. "Watching you in court, seeing what you've built, I finally understand." "Understand what?" "That I taught you everything wrong." Her eyes filled with tears. "Success isn't about winning at all costs. It's about being someone worth becoming." I swallowed hard. "You're right. But it's too late for lessons now." "Ah, I know." She straightened up, something of her old pride returning. "But maybe it's not too late to say I'm proud of you. Not for your success, for your integrity." The guard stepped forward. "Time to go." I watched them drive away, feeling lighter somehow. Brandon appeared at my side. "Ready?" At the office, Michael waited with a stack of papers and a bottle of champagne. "Everything's in order. Ross Industries' remaining legitimate assets will be transferred to your company's management." "Poetic justice," Prudence commented, reviewing the documents. "The company you built honestly now owns what's left of the one that tried to destroy you." "Not destroy," I corrected, signing the papers. "Control. There's a difference." Speaking of control, Brandon pulled out a small box. "Maybe it's time to build something else, too." The room went silent as he got down on one knee. "No marriage fund needed this time. Just us, building a life the right way. What do you say?" Through tears, I laughed. "You're really proposing in the middle of a business acquisition?" "Seemed fitting." He opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant ring. "You're the CEO of my heart?" "That was terrible," I said, pulling him up to kiss him. "Yes, absolutely yes." Prudence popped the champagne while Michael distributed glasses. Dad smiled, looking happier than he had in months. "To new beginnings," Michael proposed. "And honest endings," Dad added. My phone buzzed. A message from the prison. Mom requesting visitation rights. I showed it to Dad. "Your choice," he said. "But remember, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting." I typed a response. "Not yet. Maybe someday. Build something honest first, starting with yourself." Prudence cleared her throat. "Since we're doing announcements, I just got off the phone with Forbes. They want to feature you in their 30 Under 30 issue. The angle? Building an empire with integrity." Brandon hugged me from behind. "See? The right way wins." "It's not about winning anymore," I said, looking around at my real family. The one I chose, the one that chose me. "It's about building something that lasts." Dad raised his glass. "To my daughter, who taught me what real success looks like." "To us," Brandon added, squeezing my hand. "To integrity," Prudence chimed in. "To love," I finished, feeling complete for the first time in years. Outside, the city hummed with energy and possibility. The same view I'd looked at through tears of betrayal now showed me a future built on trust, love, and honest work. My phone buzzed again. Mom's reply. "I understand. I'll try to become someone worthy of your forgiveness." I put the phone away, turning to Brandon. "Let's go home." "Home," he smiled. "I like the sound of that." As we left the office, I paused at the door, looking back at our company logo. The empire I'd built wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to everyone who believed in doing things right. "Coming?" Brandon held out his hand. I took it, stepping into our future. Some people build empires to prove their worth to others. But I'd learned the most important lesson. The only person you need to prove anything to is yourself. And I'd done that, one honest decision at a time.
"I'll erase you from this world. Stay out of my father's and my way." The daughter's face illuminated by the city lights looked demonic. She approached slowly with a kitchen knife, spreading her arms wide. The night wind tousled our hair. No matter how much I pleaded, "Stop," she wouldn't. To think that such a day would actually come. Even though I had been so careful, to end up cornered like this. "Please, calm down. Don't you think your father would be sad if he knew about this?" "No, I don't." "Sad? Are you stupid? He'll definitely be happy." It seemed pointless to say anything more to her. She appeared focused solely on eliminating me right here. As she slowly approached, I stepped backward, one step at a time. I had reached my limit in buying time. All I could do now was try to resist somehow. Just as I made that resolution, the rooftop door burst open with a loud bang. "My name is Victoria. I'm 40 years old. My life changed dramatically when I developed endometriosis at age 20. After having my uterus removed, I could no longer bear children, and I spent days in depression. I stopped thinking about the happy marriage with someone I loved that I had vaguely dreamed about until then. You've done nothing wrong. It's the disease that's at fault. Those who get it are not to blame." Though my parents tried to comfort me with such words, there was no way I could accept that. I strongly blamed myself for having my uterus removed. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had a fatal flaw as a woman. The turning point came when I was 38. A friend introduced me to a man. His name was Tris, 2 years older than me, and quite handsome, working as a sales representative for a trading company. "If you're willing, Victoria, would you consider dating me with marriage in mind?" Me. But would someone like me be good enough? Actually, If it's about the infertility, I already know. I don't mind. And, as you may have already heard, I have a daughter who started middle school this spring. I had been told beforehand by my friend that Tris had a child. His previous wife had apparently fallen from their apartment balcony and passed away in autumn 2 years ago. He had decided to remarry because he wanted someone to be there as a partner for life, especially for his teenage daughter. I was overjoyed. Having my own family and becoming a parent seemed like a dream. After accepting his proposal and dating for about 6 months, I married Tris. Having such a capable and wonderful husband made me feel blessed. I remember genuinely feeling that way. Tris also seemed very happy about our marriage. The only one who didn't seem pleased was his daughter, Robin. It was the same when we went to greet my relatives. Robin said something terrible that froze the atmosphere. We were fine with just Dad and me, without any marriage. Robin. There you go saying such things again. That's rude to everyone. But this is how I really feel. Seriously, this remarriage is nothing but a nuisance. Robin's defiant attitude left a bad impression. I covered for her, saying we should forgive her since she's at a difficult age. Indeed, Robin was a challenging daughter. She had apparently always opposed her father's remarriage. She would always reproach Tris, asking if he didn't feel guilty towards her mother in heaven. It was the same the day before our marriage registration. Speaking as if I wasn't even there in the same living room. Mom must be crying in heaven, you know. There's no need to remarry. I can handle the housework. What's wrong with just the two of us living together? She would bark at her father like that, putting him in a difficult position. I was also greatly troubled. If I wasn't welcome, I didn't want to get married. If her husband hadn't strongly pursued me, I think I would have declined this arrangement. Robin will be busy with school studies from now on. I want her to work hard at club activities too. I want her to value her own time as much as possible without worrying about household matters. So, that's your reason for remarrying. If that's the case, you could just hire a housekeeper or something. It's for Dad's sake too. For the long life ahead, I want a partner to live with forever. Victoria agreed to marry me with the same feelings. When her father pleaded, "Please understand," bowing his head, the daughter puffed her cheeks in displeasure. She seemed to strongly dislike my presence. I remember feeling very uncomfortable. Would we be able to get along as a family in the future? I couldn't help feeling anxious. Living with a teenage girl requires a lot of consideration. I deeply felt this and had some regrets too. Robin was an even more difficult child than I had imagined. She wouldn't return my greetings. She would ignore me when I tried to talk to her. And she would often glare at me. With such frightening eyes too. I can't count how many times I heard her father scolding her. "Robin, stop glaring like that. She's your mother now." "Who's my mother?" "My mother is in heaven, remember." "There you go saying such things again." "True, that may be the case, Robin, but…" "Tris, it's okay. It's the truth. Don't blame Robin. I think we can come to understand each other little by little. After all, we still have plenty of time." Thinking we could get close right away was too naive. How would I feel in the daughter's position? If I wanted to improve our relationship, it would take time. I reconsidered this and decided not to think too deeply about it when the daughter treated me coldly. Even when she looked at me with eyes like I was her enemy, even when she complained to my face, I endured with a smile. The daughter's strong personality was real. She would constantly show competitive spirit toward me. In cooking ability, cleaning efficiency, she would compete with me in every aspect. "Look, Dad. The omelette I made. It's much better than someone's, right?" By someone, do you mean your mother? "Robin, I've told you before to stop trying to compare everything. There's no point in comparing." "Why not? I'm proving that we're fine without this person. Why don't you understand?" "Dad, you're so clueless." "Robin. Stop pointing at your mother and calling her this person." Robin was still in middle school. It's natural for her to be emotionally unstable at times. Getting angry and responding emotionally would be out of the question. We should respond maturely and take time to become friends. I told my husband this whenever something happened. I told him not to worry, that I was fine. It was about half a year after our marriage when a big change occurred. The daughter started showing me smiles. That sharp gaze that looked at me like I was her mortal enemy, where had it gone? She would come up to me with a smile and say things like, "Good morning, Mom." I simply thought that she had finally understood my feelings. But it didn't take long to realize that this friendliness was just superficial. "Mom, let me help with dinner preparations. Can I cut these carrots?" "Yes, thank you. I'm making pot au feu, so could you cut them a bit larger?" Oh. Sorry. My hand slipped. It's okay. Just make sure to hold the knife firmly. The knife that had slipped from her hand came flying toward me. It was good that I managed to avoid it just in time, but it could have been a bloody incident. There were other incidents too, kitchen scissors falling toward my feet, almost getting scalded with hot water. I want to praise myself for not getting injured even once. The worst was when I noticed something strange about a drink. One holiday, when I was about to drink the coffee the daughter had made for me, I noticed a distinctive citrus smell. Hey, this is strange. Tris, doesn't this coffee smell odd? We haven't changed the beans, have we? It does smell strange. Mine doesn't smell like that though. Oh, sorry. It's probably my fault. I might have forgotten to rinse your cup properly after washing it. I'll make you a fresh cup right away. That's all right. Thank you, Robin. I'll make it myself. Oh really? Said the daughter, smiling. But to me, that smile looked frightening. She had probably mixed detergent into my coffee. I don't think it was just a matter of forgetting to rinse the cup. She was probably disappointed that I hadn't taken a single sip. I was constantly on edge, never knowing what she might do to me. Sometimes I just wanted to be alone to ease my mental fatigue. One Saturday afternoon, I went to my favorite cafe. While I was happy to be married, daily life with the daughter was too mentally taxing. My only comfort was having my husband on my side. I wondered how long these days would continue. While drinking coffee, I kept thinking about such things and sighing repeatedly. I'm not sure how long I had been sitting there. At some point, customers had taken the seat behind the partition. The voice sounded like my daughter's, and I found myself listening intently. It's just the worst. Nothing's working. I want to make her eat her words just once. Why isn't it working? Maybe because I keep messing up. Don't rush it, Robin. These things take patience. Always smile, and make them lower their guard. Take your time, okay? We'll make your father open his eyes. Yes, you're right. Thank you, Irene. There was no mistake. One was my daughter. But who was this Irene? From her voice, she seemed to be an adult woman. Thanks to the partition, they hadn't noticed my presence. The content of their conversation was truly frightening. They were discussing specific methods to force me into divorce. They wanted me to think that continuing this marriage would be life-threatening. They were trying to make me voluntarily ask for a divorce. That night, when I was alone with my husband, I consulted him about our daughter and this woman named Irene. So that's what happened. Do you know anything about someone named Irene? Irene. I hope it's not who I think it is. My husband seemed to have someone in mind. He turned pale upon hearing the content of their conversation. He promised to carefully ask her about it. Anyway, we need to avoid any danger to Victoria. Be careful with knives, things you eat or drink, high places. When walking on the street, be as careful as possible. Yes, I will. It would be scary if something happened. At the same time, I decided to investigate this person on my own. I couldn't remain passive. Even for self-protection, I needed to be proactive. If anything happened to me, both the daughter and this woman Irene could become criminals. While I couldn't do anything about Irene, I wanted to protect the daughter. That was my parental instinct. A few days after this conversation, my husband contacted me saying he would be working late. After dinner, my daughter invited me to the rooftop. She said her friend told her we could see a meteor shower tonight. A meteor shower? I haven't heard anything about that. I don't see any news articles about it online either. Let's just go. Our apartment building's rooftop is open. It would be a waste not to use it. Come on. Unable to refuse her forceful invitation, I went to the rooftop with her. Even on an ordinary day, the city lights viewed from the 25th floor are beautiful. However, I didn't forget to be careful. I had to be cautious about high places. I tried to stay as far as possible from the fence. Then, my daughter started to get impatient. Mom, come over here. The night view from here is really beautiful. Thank you, but I'm fine. I can see well from here. Look, just come here when I tell you to. Don't you understand? Her voice grew deeper. She was suddenly holding a knife in her hand. She spread her arms wide and approached me slowly. The daughter who had transformed dropped her superficial friendliness and came at me with her true intentions. I'll erase you from this world. Stay out of my father's and my way. The night wind tousled our hair. Her face illuminated by the city lights was truly demonic. No matter how much I pleaded, stop, she wouldn't stop. Please. Calm down. Don't you think your father would be sad if he knew about this? No, I don't. Sad? Are you stupid? He'll definitely be happy. It seemed pointless to say anything more to her. She appeared focused solely on eliminating me right here. As she slowly approached, I stepped backward, one step at a time. I had reached my limit in buying time. All I could do now was try to resist somehow. Just as I made that resolution, the rooftop door burst open with a loud bang. Stop it, Robin. Get away from Victoria. Dad. How did you know we were here? Actually, I had sent my husband an email about being invited to the rooftop by our daughter. It was unusual behavior for her, and going to a high place was extremely dangerous. He had replied saying he'd be home soon and telling me to be careful. My husband rushed over and shielded me behind his back. Get out of the way, shouted the daughter. The tip of the knife was trembling. She charged forward with crazed eyes. My husband, while still shielding me, caught our daughter who was swinging the knife and pushed her toward the fence. Then, to our horror, the fence came loose with a light sound. Ah! Ah! Robin! It happened in an instant. Our daughter falling toward the dark ground below. The merciless sound of impact echoing in the apartment complex garden. We immediately called the police and ambulance. But unfortunately, our daughter couldn't be saved. Although my husband was terribly distraught, he somehow managed to conduct the funeral. Many people came to our daughter's funeral, her friends, teachers, and others. She had apparently been a bright, straightforward girl who was always at the center of her social circle at school. I deeply regretted that we couldn't save her before she was possessed by madness. It was about a week after our daughter's funeral when I called Irene to meet at the cafe. She seemed quite surprised to receive a call from me. Naturally so. One wouldn't normally expect a direct call from a colleague's wife. Yes, the woman named Irene who had been secretly meeting with our daughter was my husband's coworker. When Irene arrived at the appointed time, I greeted her with a "nice to meet you. It seems my daughter was under your care while she was alive." Eh? Oh, yes. My condolences. She was still so young, with her whole life ahead of her. Yes, it's tragic. A fall from 100 meters up. I heard the fence's wire had been detached from its hooks, and the support bolts had been removed. That fence our daughter had leaned against that day, it had been set up to come loose with just a little pressure. Not just in one place, but apparently all the fences on the rooftop were in that condition. Our daughter had probably tried to threaten me with the knife to drive me toward such a fence. And unfortunately, she ended up being the one to trust her weight to the loose fence. It was truly a nightmare. You're the one who tampered with the rooftop fence, aren't you, Irene? What? How could I? I'm an outsider. I can't even enter the building. Didn't our daughter let you in? Then you could easily get through, right? You conspired with our daughter and tried to take my life. That's right, isn't it? Please tell me everything honestly. I don't know anything. Stop making these accusations. What's wrong with you? Aren't you being extremely rude to someone you've just met? This is outrageous. Irene was aggressive. She denied even meeting with our daughter. She claimed she only knew about her from occasional conversations with my husband and had never been in close contact with her personally. How transparent. It had to be a lie. I clearly remembered hearing Irene's voice talking with our daughter. Please stop with these falsehoods. You met with our daughter multiple times. You counseled her and put ideas in her head, didn't you? Like threatening me with a knife, or mixing detergent in coffee. You were trying to corner me mentally and make me ask for a divorce, weren't you? Please stop this. I don't know anything. If you don't stop, I'll call the police. Go ahead. Please do. And then confess. Confess how deeply involved you were in our daughter's death. Hey, do you think I'm saying all this without knowing anything? I thoroughly investigated you before calling you here. Investigated. Me. Irene had romantic feelings for my husband. This was revealed through the investigation by the detective I hired. The information came from several of her co-workers, so it had to be true. After my husband's first wife passed away, Irene had apparently hoped to take her place. However, unfortunately for her, I became the second wife. Frustrated, Irene had secretly approached our daughter, trying to win her over first. She noticed the darkness in our daughter's heart and gave her various advice, trying to get rid of me. But in the end, your plans backfired, and our daughter self-destructed. Isn't that right? No. I'm not involved. I told you to stop with these accusations. Not involved. You're the one who should stop lying. After all, it's all written in our daughter's diary. What specific advice you gave her, Irene? What? Diary. What's that? Our daughter had kept a diary. It's natural that Irene would be surprised. Even my husband and I hadn't known she kept one. It detailed when she met with Irene and what they discussed. My husband and I were shocked when we discovered and read the diary while sorting through her belongings. Irene's instructions had been very specific and truly horrifying. Advising someone to put foreign substances in food, no one with a normal mindset could give such advice. Besides, the cafe's security cameras must have captured you meeting with our daughter. When cross-referenced with the dates in the diary, it adds credibility. There's no doubt you repeatedly advised our daughter and tried to corner me. The police will surely come to that conclusion. Please, not the police. I'm begging you. Oh? Weren't you just saying you'd call them? The diary also recorded the day she invited Irene to the apartment. Together, they had spent time tampering with the fence to make me fall. Just that one act alone makes Irene's actions criminal. She committed the crime of property damage. The legal penalty for property damage is imprisonment of up to 3 years or a fine. When I informed her of this, Irene immediately turned pale. You encouraged our daughter's criminal acts. Please admit to that. Since she ultimately lost her life, you can't say you don't bear any responsibility, can you? But I only gave advice. I didn't actually do anything myself. So, responsibility. Haven't you heard of instigating a crime? It's not just the person who committed the crime, the person who made them decide to commit it, who guided them toward it, is just as guilty. They receive the same punishment as the perpetrator, you know? I thought if I cornered her this far, she would surely admit her guilt. But my prediction was wrong. Irene was more persistent than I expected. She continued to deny her interactions with our daughter. Besides, everything written in that diary is lies. I never discussed any criminal acts with your daughter. Really? I was just giving her love advice. What? Love advice? Robin was in love. I was just supporting her. I never once discussed any criminal activities that you say were written in the diary. Really? Can you absolutely swear that's not a lie? Irene insisted it wasn't a lie. She claimed our daughter's love interest was a male student at her school. This was news to me. It had to be a lie. What a naive woman. She doesn't understand anything. She doesn't realize how cornered she is right now. She's mistaken if she thinks our daughter's diary is our only evidence. When I operated my smartphone, our deceased daughter's voice could be heard. It failed again. That old hag is really sensitive to smells. I put bleach in her tea, but she threw it away immediately. It's so infuriating. The initial failure with the coffee detergent was probably significant. It made her vigilant. We need to make her lower her guard more. It was a conversation between Irene and our daughter. Irene stood there with a dumbfounded expression after hearing the recording. Her face clearly asked, "How do you have this recording?" She probably had no idea they had been investigated this thoroughly. You see, I hired a detective to thoroughly investigate you, Irene. What did you just say? That you never once discussed criminal activities with our daughter? Well, that's... I mean... It must be a misunderstanding of sorts. A misunderstanding. How exactly did you misunderstand conversations about putting bleach in tea and detergent in coffee? I'd like you to explain in detail. Well, I might have discussed ways to clean cups with Robin, and maybe those memories got mixed up. Irene started making desperate excuses. This cowardly aspect of her was truly infuriating. She had encouraged our daughter to cross the final line. Irene's sin was very heavy. Even if others forgave her, my husband and I never would. Just then, a shadow appeared silently. Someone stood right behind Irene. She stiffened at the sound of the low, heavy voice. You lying woman. You're undoubtedly partly responsible for my daughter's death. You understand that, don't you? I'll hate you for the rest of my life. I'll never forgive you. Tris. How long have you been there? No, that's not. Irene turned around and turned pale. Probably because she saw my husband's haggard face. It was natural for his appearance to change so dramatically. After all, he had lost his own daughter right before his eyes. Moreover, the trigger was her contact with him. His regret must be immeasurable. Even after the funeral, he continues to suffer. He has nightmares almost every night. It seems he repeatedly relives the moment of losing his precious daughter in his dreams. My husband sat next to me and looked up at Irene's face. Irene, can you understand? The feelings of a parent who loses their child right before their eyes. Tris, I'm truly sorry. Do you think an apology is enough? Did you think you'd be forgiven? Don't be ridiculous. Give me back my daughter. We had our problems at home, but she was still my flesh and blood. My husband already knows that Irene had tampered with the fence. Without that tampering, our daughter might still be alive today. And if she were alive, there might have been a possibility of understanding each other eventually. But that possibility was completely closed off to our family now. Thinking about my husband's deep regret brings me to tears as well. You know, I deeply regret something. That time I introduced you to my daughter. If that hadn't happened, she would never have been in contact with you. I'm so sorry. I'm tired of hearing apologies. Don't you have anything better to say? Really, I don't know how to apologize. I'm sorry. Still, she could only beg for forgiveness. Irene seemed to have retracted her previous excuses and acknowledged her involvement. As a precaution, I quietly activated my smartphone's voice recorder app. Can you understand how much pain I've been through? True, my wife and daughter weren't getting along. But we were trying to face that problem in our own way, trying to resolve that discord. Yes. I understand. I understand very well. How dare you say you understand? You interfered in another family's problems, stirred things up with unnecessary words, and created the cause for the worst possible outcome. Yes. You're absolutely right. Irene began to cry. Tears streaming down her cheeks. Even now, she seemed bewildered by what had happened. That's how she appeared, though it was too late. I loved him. I was in love with you. What did you say? I was in love with you. I wanted to marry you. But you chose someone else, didn't you? I wasn't good enough. When I realized that, I felt so frustrated. So you decided to destroy our family. That's the worst. You only thought about yourself. Normally, when you love someone, you think about their happiness. Irene shed more tears when confronted. It's unavoidable when being so harshly criticized by the person you fell in love with. It seemed there was no more role for me to play. No new testimony seemed forthcoming. I urged Irene to go to the police. She nodded while crying, saying she would. Later, Irene turned herself in at the police station. She was eventually fined for crimes including property damage. My husband and I also demanded compensation for damages. The emotional trauma we suffered from losing our daughter was substantial. Irene, who created the cause of this, needed to make appropriate amends. When questioned by the police, Irene again acknowledged her relationship with Robin. She admitted they had been allies with the common goal of eliminating me. The diary and the detective's investigation results served as evidence supporting Irene's words. If Irene and our daughter had been bolder and more unscrupulous in their methods, what would have happened to me? For instance, they could have paid someone to attack me. There were many possible approaches. No matter how cautious I was, I'm not sure if I could have avoided all dangers. In any case, I think I was very lucky. A few days later, Irene quit her job citing personal reasons. Apparently, she couldn't bear being viewed with suspicion by her coworkers. She had to take out loans to pay the compensation, and afterward spent her days struggling with debt repayment. Now, I hear she works as a part-time employee at a supermarket in a small rural town. Regarding our deceased daughter's strong attachment to her father and the accompanying intense hostility toward me, my husband found a theory that might help us understand. He sighed and said our daughter probably had an Electra complex. Electra complex? What's that? Is it a disease? It's apparently different from a disease. It's when a young girl harbors possessive affection toward her father and develops strong competitive feelings toward her mother. Maybe Robin had an extreme case of it. Maybe so. That makes a lot of sense. Electra complex. He emphasized that it's just a state of mind, not a mental illness. Even I have normal affection for my father. In her case, those feelings must have escalated without anyone noticing. It could happen to anyone. She wasn't at fault. I prayed again for our daughter's peace in the afterlife. Surprisingly, it was our relatives who actively supported my husband's mental state after losing his daughter. They completely affirmed my husband's actions in trying to protect me, his wife. They even encouraged him about pushing our daughter, saying it was self-defense. I believe my husband was able to recover like this because of such support from those around us. Now, Tris and I spend peaceful days together. Perhaps the wounds in our hearts will never completely heal. But precisely because we are who we are, we understand the importance of supporting each other. Though there will surely be many difficult times ahead, we want to get through them together as husband and wife. We want to protect each other's hearts so we can smile as much as possible. That's what I believe. My name is Nola. One day, I received an invitation to my high school reunion and decided to attend. I wanted to reunite with old friends after so many years. As I entered the venue, familiar faces greeted me warmly, and we reminisced about the past. Then, suddenly, I saw him. Damien. My first love from high school was smiling at me. Nola. The moment I heard his voice, my heart skipped a beat. A rush of emotions, surprise and joy, flooded through me. Damien. It's been so long. Though I was speechless at first, unable to believe we'd met again, we soon fell into natural conversation. Starting with high school memories and catching up on our current lives, we lost track of time. At the end of the evening, Damien asked me out to dinner. Though hesitant at first, I was moved by his kindness and sincerity, and happily accepted. Of course, I'd love to. Over the next few weeks, we began meeting regularly. We enjoyed spending time together, having coffee at cafes and taking walks in the park. I found myself falling for his kindness again. Damien listened to my stories with genuine interest, and his sincere attitude made me feel secure. 6 months later, Damien took me to a special place. In the beautiful twilight setting, he took my hand with a serious look and said, "Nola, these past 6 months with you have been the most precious time of my life. I want to walk through life with you. Will you marry me?" Tears welled up in my eyes as I smiled and answered, "Yes, of course." That moment marked the beginning of our new chapter. Our wedding was surrounded by family and friends, filled with smiles and love. Damien's kindness and affection were my greatest treasures. A few months after the wedding, I became pregnant and told Damien. His joy was indescribable, and we eagerly awaited the birth of our new life. Damien gave his all to support me and the baby. His kindness and love were my greatest encouragement, and I lived happily. My life had begun a new chapter with meeting Damien again, wrapped in a happy story that would continue. Several more months passed, and I had grown accustomed to my new life with Damien. He continued to cherish me just as he had in the beginning. However, around that time, Damien's attitude began to change gradually. One night, when Damien came home, he looked more tired than usual and sank into the sofa. His expression clearly showed work-related stress. "Are you all right? Did something happen today?" I asked worriedly. "Work is tough. The new project isn't going as planned," he answered in a tired voice. Hearing this, I wanted to support him as much as possible. I shared the housework and tried to help him relax. However, Damien's irritation continued to grow. Damien started going out drinking more often after work. At first, I thought he was just refreshing himself with friends, but gradually his alcohol consumption increased, and he started coming home later. One night, Damien came home drunk and opened the door roughly. The smell of alcohol lingered, and he seemed like a completely different person from his usual self. "Damien, haven't you had too much to drink?" "It's bad for your health," I said gently, but his response was unexpected. "What do you know?" he shouted back. His eyes held a coldness different from the love they used to show. From that night on, Damien's violence began. It started with verbal abuse but gradually escalated. One day, he threw something at me while I was pregnant and shouted, "I don't want a child. I don't need you either." Those words pierced my heart. I couldn't believe that my husband, who was supposed to love me, could hurt me like this. But I still believed in his true heart. I told myself it was because of the stress and anxiety he was carrying. When Damien was calm, I tried talking to him, telling him I wanted to help. Damien, let's get through this together. We have a future ahead of us. However, his response was cold. I can't see any future. My life is a mess. Though these words nearly shattered my heart, I continued to believe in him. I couldn't abandon someone I loved. Every night, while waiting for him to return, I held back tears and prayed. I continued to wish that he would return to being the kind Damien I knew. My belly grew gradually, and I felt the new life growing inside me with each passing day. Even while enduring Damien's coldness and violence, I told myself I had to be strong for this child. As a mother, I renewed my determination to face any difficulty. One day, Damien came home early from work. My momentary relief was short-lived as I saw anger in his eyes. Did something happen? I asked nervously. Nothing, he shouted. In that instant, his hand struck my cheek. Tears welled up, and I collapsed there. I turned away from him and left the room crying. That night, trembling in bed, I told myself that he was only doing this because of stress, that he was really a kind person. I chose to believe in him and endure, telling myself I had to overcome this difficult situation for our baby. I continued to endure daily life, trying to improve my relationship with Damien. However, his changes became more intense, and my heart was reaching its limit. Still, I believed in Damien and renewed my determination to live strongly for our child. Around the time my birthday was approaching, Damien suddenly started showing kindness, and as if his previous coldness and violent behavior had been a lie, he smiled and said, "Nola, let's go to a special dinner for your birthday. I've made a reservation at an upscale restaurant." Those words gave me a glimmer of hope. Maybe Damien would change. Maybe our relationship could be repaired. Such expectations grew in the depths of my heart. On my birthday night, I put on my favorite dress and prepared for what would be our first date in a long time. He showed his smile for the first time in ages. "You look beautiful, Nola." Those words warmed my heart. When we arrived at the restaurant, the atmosphere was sophisticated, with romantic music playing. We were led to a window seat, where we began our meal while admiring the beautiful night view. "I've prepared a special wine for you today," Damien said, beginning to pour from a special bottle. "Damien, I'm pregnant, so wine isn't really." I gently declined. "A little bit won't hurt, right?" "It's a special day," he insisted with a smile. At that moment, I doubted his intentions. However, I wanted to believe that he was truly trying to change for the better for us. "If it's just a little bit." I reluctantly accepted the glass while looking at his face. As the meal progressed, Damien tried repeatedly to refill my wine glass. Though I felt my internal alarms rising, I accepted his kindness, wanting to believe in him. I wanted to believe he would return to being the loving husband he once was. "Damien, thank you so much for today. I haven't felt this happy in a long time," I smiled as I spoke. "Is that so?" "I'm glad." His smile seemed to hide some ulterior motive. "Nola, drink a bit more. It's a special day, let's relax." His words sounded sweet, but I didn't know the cruel plan that lay beneath them. "Really, I've had enough." I don't want to drink too much for the baby's sake, I declined again. It's fine, it won't affect the baby. Damien tried forcefully to pour more wine. At that moment, something in me sounded an alarm. However, I wanted to believe in him. I wanted to believe he was seriously thinking about our future and regretting his past mistakes. Despite my slight doubts about Damien's forceful encouragement, I decided to trust his words. While secretly hoping this might be the turning point to repair our relationship, I brought the glass to my lips again. At that time, I had no way of knowing Damien's true plan, and could only cling to his kind smile. As the meal progressed, my condition gradually worsened. My head became heavy, and my vision began to blur. Though I thought I had only drunk a little of the wine Damien recommended, I hadn't expected it to affect my body this much. "Damien, my body feels heavy," I told him, but his face was cold. "It's all right, you'll feel better after some rest," he smiled gently, but his eyes held a cold light. At that time, I felt something was clearly wrong, but it was too late. My body wouldn't listen to me, and I felt my consciousness fading. As the surrounding sounds grew distant and the world slowly darkened, Damien's cold voice reached my ears. "Finally, goodbye. I don't need the brat." Those words pierced my consciousness as I was dragged into darkness. Damien's voice echoed in my head as I completely lost consciousness. His cruel words remained as my final memory, and I was enveloped in helplessness and despair. As my consciousness faded, my heart was filled with confusion and fear. I couldn't understand why Damien would say such things, why he would do something so cruel. Realizing his love had been false, a shattering pain ran through my heart. My vision became completely dark, the sounds around me disappeared, and only silence remained. Damien's words repeated in my head, and I had no choice but to let go of consciousness while trembling at his coldness. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on a hospital bed. The white ceiling light hazily entered my field of vision, and the surrounding sounds gradually returned. My whole body felt heavy, and it was painful to move. It took some time for my consciousness to fully return. "Nola, can you hear me?" A gentle voice reached my ears, and I slowly turned my face. There stood a doctor with a worried expression. "Is this a hospital?" I asked in a hoarse voice. Even speaking was painful, and my throat was terribly dry. "Yes, you were brought here after losing consciousness. Do you remember?" the doctor explained in a calm voice. Memories returned in fragments. The dinner with Damien, the wine, and the cold words I heard at the end. A pain like my heart was being squeezed ran through me, and tears welled up. "The baby, what happened to the baby?" When I asked in a trembling voice, the doctor's expression became even more serious. "I'm sorry, we couldn't save your baby." Those words pierced deep into my chest, and I felt like I was standing on the edge of despair. Why did this happen? I couldn't stop crying, all I could do was weep. Damien's betrayal and the loss of the baby completely devastated me. Later, the police came to my hospital room to explain the situation. "Where is he now?" I asked in a hoarse voice. "We're currently searching for him." "Please don't worry, we will definitely find him," the police officer said firmly, but the wounds in my heart wouldn't heal. After being discharged, I decided to return to my parents' home. My parents stayed by my side, supporting me with all their strength. My mother's warm hands enveloped mine, and my father's strong embrace gave me a small sense of security. Nola, let's move forward, even if it's just one step at a time, my mother said gently. Thank you, Mom. Dad, thank you too, I expressed my gratitude with tears in my eyes. However, the wounds in my heart were deep, and anger and hatred toward Damien occupied my heart. Being betrayed by someone I loved, nearly having my life taken, and losing my baby as a result pushed me into deep despair. The days of recovery were long and painful, but thanks to my parents' support, I was able to gradually face forward. As the police investigation progressed, the existence of Damien's mistress came to light. He had disappeared with this woman. While our married life was falling apart, he had been having a relationship with another woman and had planned to take my life for insurance money. When I learned this truth, my chest felt like it would burst. We don't know if Damien is on the run with that woman or not. Either way, we will continue our search for them. The police officer's words gave me a small hope. I vowed to uncover the truth about Damien. Exposing everything he had done to us and pursuing justice became my new goal. First, it was important to track down Damien's mistress. There was a high possibility that she too was a victim of Damien. I needed to contact her to hear the truth and corner Damien. One day, I discovered where she was hiding. Though nervous, I headed to that place with determination. Standing in front of the door, I took a deep breath before knocking. Who is it? A frightened voice came from inside. My name is Nola. I'm Damien's wife, I answered quietly. After a moment of silence, the door opened slightly. Her eyes showed fear and anxiety, but also seemed to be pleading something. Would you listen to what I have to say? I asked quietly. Though hesitant, she opened the door and invited me in. I entered her room. I want to talk about Damien. About what we experienced. I spoke to her gently. Her name was Jenny. Like me, she was a woman used and hurt by Damien. As we faced each other and shared our painful experiences, a trust relationship gradually built between us. Fear and anxiety remained strongly visible in Jenny's eyes. However, my sincerity in our shared pain as fellow victims became the key to opening her heart. I want you to tell me everything Damien did to you. I was betrayed by him too. Please share your story, I earnestly appealed to Jenny. Jenny remained silent for a while, but eventually opened up. He was kind at first. He treated me specially and told me he loved me many times. But it was all lies. His goal was insurance money. Jenny's words pained my heart. Like me, she had fallen into Damien's clever trap and been used. How did you realize his true intentions? I asked further. I accidentally overheard him talking about his plan. He was planning to take your life and get the insurance money. At that time, I was forced to participate in his plan. But I was scared and ran away. Jenny's voice trembled. I squeezed her hand and encouraged her, I'm glad you ran away. With your testimony, we can corner Damien. Jenny apologized in tears, but I couldn't do anything because I was scared. I even caused you to lose your baby. I'm so sorry. Jenny, that's not your fault. Damien is to blame. I need your help to expose his plan and pursue justice. I squeezed Jenny's hand tighter, conveying my determination. I understand. I'll help you. Together, we'll catch him. Jenny's eyes showed new determination. That night, Jenny and I discussed Damien's plan in detail. His behavior patterns, hideouts, and his aim for insurance money. We organized all the information and prepared to submit it as evidence to the police. Finally, justice will be served. Jenny showed a slight smile. Yes. But the real battle starts now. Let's give it our all to make Damien pay for what he's done. I faced forward with Jenny, carrying strong determination in my heart. After that, with Jenny's testimony and my evidence combined, the police strengthened their pursuit of Damien. The evidence we gathered became a big step toward his arrest. Damien, you cannot escape your crimes. We will definitely make you face justice. While vowing this in my heart, I embraced new determination and continued to seek the truth with Jenny. Through cooperation with Jenny, we obtained crucial evidence to track Damien's whereabouts. The police moved quickly, and finally, they were able to catch him. His arrest was a great victory for us, but we knew that the real trial would be the upcoming battle in court. After Damien's arrest, the trial began. The courtroom was filled with a solemn atmosphere as we prepared to testify about his cruel plan. Initially, Damien claimed his innocence, but the evidence we provided gradually exposed his lies. Standing at the witness stand, I prayed while looking directly at Damien. May the truth come to light. Jenny and I supported each other as we gave our all to expose Damien's crimes. Nola, please tell us the details of the incident, the prosecutor asked me. Damien deceived me and tried to poison me while I was pregnant. His goal was to obtain insurance money, I answered calmly. What words did you hear from Damien at that time? The prosecutor inquired further. He said, finally, goodbye. I don't need the brat. It hurt my heart to say those words. Damien tried to argue against my testimony, but Jenny's testimony and other evidence continued to reveal his crimes. Though he was defiant and denied everything at first, he gradually became cornered. Jenny also took the witness stand and spoke about the details of his plan. He used me and planned to kill Nola to get the insurance money. Though Jenny's voice trembled, her testimony powerfully conveyed the truth. The trial dragged on, but eventually, Damien's crimes came to light. He was forced to admit to all his crimes, and the courtroom fell silent. Damien, what you have done is unforgivable, the judge's stern voice echoed. I hereby sentence you to a lengthy prison term. At that moment, a brief sense of relief visited my heart. With Damien receiving justice, I felt I could move forward, if only a little. As we left the courthouse, Jenny stood beside me and said, "It's finally over, Nola." Her voice contained relief and gratitude. Yes, but this is just the real beginning, I answered with a smile. We'll continue to live strong. Jenny and I embraced each other, vowing to move forward together toward a new future. Now that Damien's crimes had been exposed, we were ready to take new steps while healing from the wounds of the past. Damien received a lengthy prison sentence, and I felt that justice had been served for his cruel acts. However, there were still unhealed wounds in my heart. Jenny and I renewed our determination to walk forward together, supporting each other. We are strong. We can face any difficulty. While making this vow in my heart, I took a new step forward. Several years passed after the trial and Damien's sentencing, and my life changed significantly. Motivated by the incident, I obtained a license as an insurance investigator and began contributing to solving insurance-related murder cases. My past experiences made me stronger and became a force for saving other victims. "Nola, you've successfully resolved this case too," a colleague said, to which I smiled and replied, "Yes. I want to continue pursuing justice." Around that time, another big change came to my life, meeting Tyler. He was a kind man who understood my past and supported me. We took time to build trust, and eventually, I decided to marry again. On our wedding day, Tyler took my hand and said gently, "Nola, meeting you has been the treasure of my life. Let's walk together from now on." "Me too, Tyler. I'm happy to walk a new life path with you," I answered with tears in my eyes. Our married life was peaceful and happy. Tyler's support and love warmly embraced my heart. I was living fulfilling days both at work and at home. Then one day, I learned I was pregnant. When I received the news from the doctor, joy and emotion rushed over me. "Tyler, I'm pregnant," I told him tearfully, and he held me tight. "That's wonderful news, Nola. Let's cherish and raise our baby together." Tyler's warm words gave me a deep sense of security. During my pregnancy, Tyler and I prepared our new house and made preparations for the baby. His kindness and support brought stability to my heart. "Nola, I'll do anything for you and the baby," Tyler's words always encouraged me. Then, our long-awaited baby was born. When I held the new life in my arms, I felt that all my previous trials had been for this moment. Looking at the baby's smile, I felt happiness from the bottom of my heart. "Welcome to our family," I spoke softly to the baby while Tyler smiled beside me. "Let's continue walking together, Nola," Tyler said, and I nodded deeply. Having overcome past suffering, our family continued walking toward the future with new hope and joy in our hearts. The baby's birth strengthened our bonds even more and lit a new light in my heart. "Tyler, we're truly happy, aren't we?" I smiled at him. "Yes, Nola. Let's stay together forever." I felt deep love in his words. And so, I continued walking toward a bright future with my new family, savoring the happiness gained through overcoming hardship. 10 years passed, and our days were filled with peaceful happiness. Our daughter Agnes grew up healthy, and our family bonds grew ever stronger. As Agnes's birthday approached, I was planning a special party for her. "Nola, let's make today a wonderful party for Agnes," Tyler said with a smile. "Yes, Agnes will surely be delighted," I smiled back at Tyler, taking a break from the party preparations. On the day of the party, our house was filled with relatives and friends, creating a lively and warm atmosphere. Agnes wore her favorite dress and had a bright smile on her face. "Mom, today is so much fun," Agnes said happily. "Yes, Agnes. Seeing your smile makes Mommy very happy too," I gave her a light kiss on the cheek. During the party, I briefly remembered past events, the painful days with Damien and the subsequent struggle. However, I felt deeply grateful that I had overcome those times and was now walking a new life path. Everyone, thank you for celebrating Agnes's special day with us. I began speaking to the gathered people. Though I've experienced many trials in the past, I'm truly grateful to be spending such happy days with all of you now. Nola, you're truly a strong person. Keep protecting your family with that strength, my mother said gently. Thank you, Mom. It's because you and Dad were there for me that I've made it this far, I answered, holding back tears. Tyler stood beside me and said, Nola, let's keep walking together forever. Our family will always be surrounded by happiness. Yes, Tyler. We'll live true to ourselves, never giving in to any difficulties, I smiled at him. Watching Agnes enjoying herself at the center of the party, I felt joy from the bottom of my heart. Her smile was a symbol of our family's happiness and hope for the bright future ahead. Agnes, having you makes Mommy and Daddy so happy, I said while gently stroking her hair. I love Mommy and Daddy too. Agnes answered innocently. We joined hands and walked toward the future. Having overcome past suffering and gained new hope and happiness, our family vowed to continue spending our days together with smiles on our faces. The harsh sound of an alarm clock jolted Nicole back to reality in her bedroom as sunlight streamed through the windows. Opening her eyes, she gazed at her sleeping husband Zion's face beside her. Zion was scheduled to leave for an extended business trip next week. Nicole took a deep breath, preparing herself mentally for the new day ahead. Slipping out of bed, Nicole put on her slippers and stepped into the hallway. She paused momentarily, her eyes drawn to her daughter Aubrey's bedroom door. That room, empty for 3 months now, stared back at her unchanged. Despite the ache in her heart, Nicole headed to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. As coffee's aroma filled the house, Nicole took eggs from the refrigerator and cracked them into the pan. She smiled upon hearing Zion's footsteps coming down the stairs. Good morning, honey, Zion said softly. Good morning, Nicole replied, turning around. What's your schedule today? I have a final meeting about the Chicago business trip this afternoon. Should be home in time for dinner. They shared peaceful conversation over breakfast. However, the family photo on the table silently spoke of Aubrey's absence. After breakfast, Nicole headed to the elementary school where she worked. She greeted her third-grade students with a warm smile. Good morning, everyone. Nicole called out cheerfully. Good morning, Mrs. Salinger, the children responded energetically. As class began, Nicole wrote mathematical equations on the blackboard, carefully explaining each step. Watching her students' serious expressions, she reaffirmed her sense of purpose as a teacher. During break time, she provided individual guidance to a student struggling with homework. This is how you think about it, Nicole explained gently. Oh, I get it now. Thank you, teacher, the girl's eyes sparkled. After school, Nicole exchanged brief conversation with her colleagues before heading home. When she arrived, Zion was already there and had started preparing dinner. I'm home, Nicole called out, and Zion turned around with a smile. Welcome back. I'm making lasagna tonight. They worked together to finish preparing dinner and sat down at the table. Over wine, Zion began explaining the details of his trip. It'll probably take about 3 weeks. I'll try to come back as soon as I can. Nicole nodded silently. Then, the unavoidable topic arose. About Aubrey. Nicole hesitantly began. Is there any new information? Zion sighed deeply. No word from the police. But we can't give up. Nicole gripped Zion's hand, tears welling in her eyes. We'll find her, I know we will. Zion gently embraced Nicole, whispering, That's right. Let's keep trying together. The next day, Zion began preparing for his trip. As he packed clothes into his suitcase, he occasionally glanced at Nicole. She helped silently, suppressing her loneliness. In the car heading to the airport, Zion took Nicole's hand again. Call me right away if anything happens. Nicole nodded, saying, Take care. After seeing him off, Nicole returned home and sighed deeply in the silent house. As night fell, she sat alone on the living room sofa, staring at the television. Suddenly, she heard a strange noise from upstairs. Nicole tensed, looking up at the ceiling. Just then, the doorbell rang. Nicole nervously opened the door to find her mother-in-law Veronica standing there. Good evening, Nicole. Veronica's voice was cold. Veronica, what brings you here so late? Nicole asked uncertainly. Veronica silently entered the living room and sat on the sofa. Since Zion's gone on his trip, I came to check on you. Though uncomfortable, Nicole prepared tea. After taking a sip, Veronica began in a stern tone. Nicole, please don't ever go into the attic. Understand? Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. What? Why? Don't ask why. Just promise me. Veronica's eyes pierced Nicole sharply. Though confused, Nicole nodded. Veronica stood up, apparently satisfied, saying, Well, I'll be going now, before leaving. After the door closed, Nicole looked up at the ceiling again. The attic door seemed to look down at her, as if concealing a secret. In Nicole's heart, anxiety and curiosity began to mingle. When Nicole returned from school, her son Finn was playing games on the living room sofa. This was usually homework time. Nicole frowned as she called out to him. Finn, what about your homework? I finished it, Finn answered without looking away from the screen. Nicole sat beside her son and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. Did something happen? You seem different. Finn finally met Nicole's eyes. Anxiety showed in his gaze. Mom, about Aubrey. Finn's words trailed off. Nicole's heart jumped. About Aubrey? Did something happen? Finn took a deep breath before continuing. I was talking about Aubrey with friends at school today. And then. Nicole listened with bated breath. Someone said they saw Aubrey. But that's impossible, right? Nicole embraced her son. Finn, thank you for worrying about Aubrey. But it's better not to believe such rumors. The police are working hard to find her. Finn nodded, but anxiety remained in his expression. During dinner, Finn was quieter than usual. Though concerned about her son's behavior, Nicole avoided pressing him too hard. After finishing his meal, Finn said, I'm tired, and retreated to his room early. Late that night, Nicole woke to a noise. Looking at the clock, it was past 2 a.m. Stepping into the hallway, she saw Finn's bedroom door was open. "Finn!" Nicole called softly, and her son's voice came from the direction of the stairs. "Mom!" His voice held traces of fear. Nicole hurried down the stairs. In the dim living room, she saw Finn's small shadow. He was looking up at the ceiling, pointing with a trembling finger. "What's wrong?" Nicole placed her hand on her son's shoulder. Finn answered in a shaking voice. "I hear Big Sister's voice, coming from above." Nicole caught her breath. Her mother-in-law Veronica's warning flashed through her mind, "Never go into the attic." However, seeing her son's anxious expression made Nicole's heart waver. "Can you really hear it?" Nicole asked gently. Finn nodded desperately. "Yes, it's faint, but I think she's asking for help." Nicole took a deep breath and made her decision. "All right. Mom will go check. Wait here, okay?" Finn looked up at Nicole anxiously. "I want to go too." "No. Please wait here," Nicole said firmly. Nicole nervously placed her hand on the ladder to the attic. Her mother-in-law's warning echoed in her mind, "Never enter the attic." However, thinking of Aubrey, there was no time for hesitation. As she climbed the ladder one rung at a time, Nicole's heart was pounding. Her hands trembled, and cold sweat ran down her back. Reaching for the attic entrance after climbing the final rung, Nicole took a deep breath. "Aubrey?" Nicole called out softly. No response. Steeling herself, Nicole opened the attic door. A dim space stretched before her, with dusty air tickling her nose. Moonlight streaming through a small window cast eerie shadows of furniture and boxes. Nicole cautiously took a step forward. She shuddered at the creaking of the floorboards. Slowly exploring the attic while shining her flashlight, she found old furniture, cardboard boxes, and a dust-covered mirror, all appearing unused for years. Nicole's eyes fixed on a large trunk tucked in a corner of the room. Nervously approaching, she placed her hand on the trunk's lid. Taking a deep breath, she slowly opened it. Inside were old clothes and photo albums. However, what caught Nicole's eye was a familiar stuffed animal placed on top. Aubrey's favorite teddy bear. Nicole gasped. This teddy bear should have disappeared along with Aubrey. Why was it here? Searching the trunk further, she found Aubrey's diary and clothes that should have been recently purchased. Questions swirled in Nicole's mind. Were all these items placed here after Aubrey's disappearance? Suddenly, Finn's voice called from below. "Mom! Are you okay?" Nicole snapped back to reality and quickly closed the trunk. "I'm fine, I'll come down now." Leaving the attic, Nicole's heart was full of confusion and anxiety. Was Aubrey in this house? If so, why wouldn't she show herself? And what did her mother-in-law Veronica know? Coming down the ladder, she found an anxious-faced Finn waiting. Nicole embraced her son, saying, "There was nothing there. It must have been your imagination." However, Nicole herself knew best that these words were a lie. Various thoughts ran through her mind about what to do next. Should she contact her husband Zion? Consult the police? Or should she first talk with her mother-in-law Veronica? Nicole sighed deeply as she led Finn back to his room. It's late. Let's go to bed. Lying in bed, Nicole stared at the ceiling. The secret of the attic weighed heavily upon her. What action should she take tomorrow? Nicole spent a long night lost in thought. In the kitchen as morning sunlight streamed in, Nicole had firmed her resolve after a sleepless night of consideration. Sipping coffee, she recalled last night's events in the attic. Finding Aubrey's belongings, and her mother-in-law Veronica's strange warning. These couldn't be mere coincidence. Nicole picked up her mobile phone and held down Zion's name. However, she canceled the call just before it started ringing. There was no solid evidence yet. She might just worry Zion unnecessarily. Nicole sighed deeply. "Mom, good morning," Finn's voice brought Nicole back to reality. "Good morning, Finn. Did you sleep well?" Finn shook his head. Not really." Nicole sat next to her son and gently put an arm around his shoulders. "Finn, Mom wants to investigate something about Aubrey. Will you help?" Finn's eyes lit up. "Yes." Nicole told Finn about what she had found in the attic last night. Then she explained her plan to ask around town today. "But it's a secret. Don't tell anyone, not Grandma, not Dad," Nicole said with a serious expression. Finn nodded with a mature look. "I understand, Mom. I'll help properly." After breakfast, Nicole and Finn headed into town. Their first stop was the home of Aubrey's best friend Lily. Her mother came to the door. "About Aubrey?" "Yes, I'm really worried about her. But recently..." She trailed off. "Recently?" Nicole prompted. "Well, it might have been my imagination, but last week, late at night, I thought I saw someone who looked like Aubrey." Nicole's heart raced. "Where did you see her?" "At the corner of Willow Street." But she disappeared right away. Next, they visited Aubrey's violin teacher. The teacher shook her head sadly. "I'm sorry, but I have no information about Aubrey. Though I do miss hearing her play." As they went around town, Nicole heard strange rumors. Multiple people claimed to have seen an unknown girl at night. However, no one would definitively say it was Aubrey. In the afternoon, Nicole and Finn visited the library. Finn eagerly began researching old town records. Nicole was flipping through old local newspaper articles. Suddenly, Finn called out quietly. "Mom, look at this." The photo he pointed to showed a young Veronica. However, the name was different. Eva Gunn. Nicole read aloud involuntarily. "That's not Grandma's name, is it?" Finn asked curiously. Nicole tilted her head. By this time, Veronica should have already been married to Zion's father. Why a different name? As they were leaving the library, Stephanie the librarian called out to Nicole. "Nicole, were you researching Veronica?" Stephanie's voice was low, as if wary of their surroundings. "Yes, I was curious," Nicole maintained her composure. Stephanie continued hesitantly. "There have been various rumors about her, especially about before she came to this town." Just then, the library door opened and another patron entered. Stephanie abruptly cut off, saying, "Some other time," before walking away. Returning home, Nicole found Veronica standing at the front door. Her expression was sterner than usual, as if she had something to say. "Mother-in-law, what's wrong?" Nicole asked, feigning calm. "Nicole, we need to talk." Veronica's voice was cold. Once they entered the living room, Veronica suddenly changed the subject. "Have you been up to the attic recently?" Nicole momentarily stumbled over her words. "No, I haven't gone up there, like you said." Veronica stared intently at Nicole. "I see. That's good." Then she stood up, saying, "I need to get something I forgot," and headed toward the attic ladder. Watching Veronica's back as she left, Nicole felt her heart rate increasing. What was Veronica hiding? And where was Aubrey? These questions grew ever larger in Nicole's mind. Late that night, after her family had fallen asleep, Nicole quietly headed to the attic. Concerned about Veronica's visit yesterday, she wanted to check for any new clues. Climbing the ladder carefully, guided by flashlight beam. Entering the attic, the dusty air tickled her nose. Nicole looked around and focused on the old trunk Veronica had approached. Opening the lid slowly, she found a worn photo album. Nicole caught her breath. The album cover read, "Eva Gunn's Memories." The name from the library. With trembling hands, she turned the pages, revealing photo after photo of a young Veronica. However, beside her was an unfamiliar man. Could this be Veronica's ex-husband? Nicole whispered to herself. Turning more pages, she discovered a letter tucked inside. Written in young Veronica's, no, Eva's handwriting on yellowed paper. "Dear Tom, we may never meet again. But this is the only way to escape your violence. I'm starting a new life. Please don't try to find me. Goodbye, Eva." Finishing the letter, Nicole was overwhelmed with complex emotions. Veronica's past was gradually becoming clear. The next morning, Nicole saw Finn off to school. However, that afternoon, she received a call from the school. "Mrs. Salinger, I'm sorry, but it seems Finn is absent from afternoon classes." Nicole exclaimed in surprise. "What? But this morning." Rushing into town, Nicole searched frantically for Finn. She found him in front of an old movie theater. However, there was another person there, an unfamiliar man. Nicole hid and tried to listen to their conversation. "About your sister. I think I might have seen someone like her," the man's voice carried over. Finn's voice followed. "Really? Where did you see her?" Nicole caught her breath. Finn had started his own investigation. While worried, she was impressed by her son's courage. That night, Nicole began researching Veronica's hometown on her computer. Searching the small town's name, she found a newspaper article from 30 years ago. "Local businessman arrested for wife battery." Nicole's eyes widened at the headline. Reading on, the victim's name was Eva Gunn. And the perpetrator was Richard Gunn, the man from the album. With trembling hands, Nicole picked up her phone and called Stephanie at the library. "Stephanie, I need to know about Veronica, no, Eva Gunn." On the other end of the line, Stephanie sighed. "So you figured it out?" "Yes, Veronica's real name was Eva Gunn." Stephanie continued. 30 years ago, she came to this town to escape her abusive husband. She changed her name and started a new life. Nicole was speechless. Veronica's past suffering and her courage to start anew, everything was starting to make sense. But why would she do this to Aubrey? Nicole began, but Stephanie interrupted. That I don't know. But there must be a reason for Veronica's actions. After hanging up, Nicole stared out the window. In the darkness of night, she could see the small window of the attic. Was Aubrey up there? And what was Veronica trying to protect? Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Nicole checked the clock. It was past 10 p.m. Who could it be? Opening the door nervously, she found Veronica standing there. Her expression was more serious than Nicole had ever seen. Nicole, we need to talk, Veronica's voice trembled. It's time I told you everything. Nicole nodded silently and invited Veronica into the living room. It was going to be a long night. The moment for truth had finally come. Nicole stared at the clock, feeling anxiety spread through her chest. It was past 3 p.m., and Finn hadn't returned home. He should usually be back by 2:30. She had sent several messages to his mobile phone, but there were no replies. He must have stopped at a friend's house, she told herself while looking out the window. But there was no sign of Finn on the street. Around 3:30, Nicole couldn't wait any longer and left the house. First, she went to Mike's house, Finn's best friend. Mike's mother apologetically shook her head. I'm sorry, Nicole. Finn hasn't been here. Next, she called the school. Finn left after finishing his last class, was the answer, only increasing Nicole's anxiety. She ran around town, calling Finn's name. The park, library, his favorite ice cream shop, her son was nowhere to be found. As the sun began to set, Nicole was debating whether to call the police. However, thinking about Veronica's secret and Aubrey's situation made her hesitate. Nicole. Suddenly, a voice called from behind. Turning around, there stood Veronica. Mother-in-law. Finn is. Nicole explained the situation tearfully. Veronica's expression darkened. Let's go back home. There's something I need to tell you. Back at home, Veronica sat on the living room sofa. Her posture suggested someone carrying a heavy burden of many years. Nicole, Veronica stumbled over her words. My real name is Eva Gunn. Nicole caught her breath. I know. But why? Veronica, no, Eva, sighed deeply. 30 years ago, I ran away from my abusive husband. I changed my name and started a new life. Then I met Zion's father. Tears glistened in her eyes. But the past doesn't disappear so easily. My ex-husband kept searching for me. Nicole asked in a trembling voice, how does this relate to Aubrey and Finn? Eva raised her face and looked straight into Nicole's eyes. Aubrey discovered my secret. The threatening letters from my ex-husband. Nicole gasped. So. Aubrey. No sooner had Nicole heard Veronica's confession than she jumped up from her chair. Where is Aubrey? Her voice trembled. Veronica heaved a deep sigh. At my house. Let's go. The two hurried to Veronica's house. Nicole's hands shook as she drove, her knuckles white from gripping the steering wheel too tightly. Veronica sat silently in the passenger seat, occasionally glancing at Nicole. Arriving at Veronica's house, Nicole quickly jumped out of the car. "Hurry! Where's Aubrey?" Veronica slowly entered the house and stopped in front of a large bookshelf in the living room. "Nicole, are you ready?" Nicole could barely contain her irritation, crying out, "What are you talking about? Let me see my daughter." Veronica quietly reached for a book on the shelf and pulled it. Surprisingly, the entire bookshelf moved, revealing a hidden door. Nicole caught her breath. This mechanism. Veronica placed her hand on the door and slowly opened it. "Aubrey, it's all right. Mom's here." As the door opened, a small, dimly lit room appeared. There was an emaciated girl inside. "Aubrey!" Nicole cried out and rushed into the room. Aubrey, at first squinting at the light, raised her face when she heard Nicole's voice. "Mom." Her voice was thin and uncertain. Nicole held her daughter tightly. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Thank goodness, thank goodness." Aubrey also clung to Nicole, holding her tight. "I'm sorry, Mom. I was scared." The two held each other without words, just crying. Their 3-month separation seemed to melt away in an instant. Veronica watched this scene from the doorway with a complex expression. "Nicole, Aubrey. I'm so sorry." Tears glistened in her eyes as well. Finally pulling away from Aubrey, Nicole looked at Veronica. Anger and relief, along with complex emotions, mingled together. "Why did you do this?" Veronica knelt on the floor and took Aubrey's hand. "It was to protect you. But I realize now that was wrong." Aubrey nodded slightly. "Grandma, it's okay now, right? That scary person won't come anymore." Nicole looked at her daughter in surprise. "Scary person?" Veronica took a deep breath and said, "I'll explain everything. But first, let's move Aubrey to a proper room." As the three moved to the living room, Nicole's head was full of questions. Along with the relief of finding Aubrey came new anxieties. And the whereabouts of Finn still weighed heavily on her heart. In the midst of the family's tension gathered in the living room, the front door slowly opened. "I'm home." Finn's small voice echoed, and everyone's eyes turned to him at once. Nicole jumped up and hugged her son tightly. "Finn! Where have you been? Do you know how worried everyone was?" Finn seemed to shrink in his mother's arms, wearing an apologetic expression. "I'm sorry, Mom. I was worried about Aubrey." Nicole gripped her son's shoulders and looked at him with serious eyes. "What happened? Tell me everything." Finn took a deep breath and began explaining. "I've been having dreams about Aubrey lately. In the dreams, Aubrey was crying, 'Help me.' Tears glistened in his eyes. So I thought I had to find Aubrey." He continued, "After school, I went to the library. Stephanie helped me look through old town records. And then..." Finn hesitated for a moment, then looked at Veronica. "I found Grandma's old name. Eva Gunn." Veronica sighed and quietly spoke. You discovered my past. Finn nodded. Yes. Then I wanted to investigate more, so I went to the town where Grandma's old house was. Nicole caught her breath. All by yourself? Yes, Finn answered quietly. I took the bus. And there I met Grandma's ex-husband, our real grandfather. The room fell silent. Veronica's face turned pale. Finn quickly added, but it's okay. I didn't tell him my name or our real relationship. I just said I was there doing research. He pulled a crumpled paper from his pocket. This is Grandpa's address. I thought we should give it to the police. Nicole embraced her son again, this time with a mixture of relief and pride. Finn, you were very brave. But do you know how dangerous that was? Finn buried his face in his mother's chest. I know. But it was for our family. I wanted to help Aubrey. I wanted to help Mom and Dad. Aubrey quietly approached Finn and took her brother's hand. Thank you, Finn. It's because you never gave up on me that I'm here now. The whole family surrounded Finn, expressing their gratitude for his courage and love. Veronica knelt before her grandson and apologized tearfully. Finn, I'm so sorry. Because Grandma hid everything, you were put in such danger. Finn gently hugged Veronica. It's okay, Grandma. We're family. Family helps each other. At that moment, everyone smiled through their tears. They all felt the family bond that had grown stronger through their ordeal. While moved by her son's growth and courage, Nicole realized the changes this experience had brought to their lives. This adventure, which began with fear and distrust, had ultimately taught them about love, understanding, and the importance of family bonds. From this day forward, the Salinger family vowed to build more open relationships without secrets. And they renewed their determination to overcome any difficulties that might arise by working together as a family. The next morning, the Salinger family headed to the local police station in a somber atmosphere. Nicole held Aubrey and Finn's hands, while Zion gently placed his hand on Veronica's shoulder. Upon entering the station, they were greeted by a veteran detective. Please, have a seat, the detective said in a calm voice. Veronica, no, Eva. Please tell us your story. Veronica took a deep breath and began telling her past in a trembling voice. The domestic violence from 30 years ago, her escape, and the beginning of her new life. Then the recent threats from her ex-husband. As the story progressed, the detective's expression grew more serious. I understand, the detective said quietly. We'll do everything we can. Issuing a protection order, increasing patrols, and if necessary, we can arrange for relocation to a safe place. Nicole leaned forward. Detective, we won't run away. This town is our family's home. We want to start a new life here. The detective nodded. I respect that courage. We'll support you with everything we have. Leaving the police station, the family held new determination in their hearts. Back home, Zion called a family meeting. From now on, let's be honest and open with each other, Zion said quietly but firmly. We're family. We'll overcome any difficulties together. Everyone nodded and joined hands. In that moment, They felt they had become a true family. As days passed, the townspeople's attitudes also began to change. Those who had initially shown uncertainty and distrust were moved by the Salinger family's sincerity and strength. Lily's mother, Aubrey's best friend's mother, stood up at a school PTA meeting. "We need to understand and support each other more. There's so much we can learn from the Salinger family's courageous actions." Stephanie at the library set up a special corner for domestic violence and child protection resources. "Knowledge can help," she said, smiling kindly at Nicole. The local church held a special prayer service for Veronica. The pastor spoke during his sermon, "Forgiveness, understanding, and new beginnings. That's the strength of our community." As months passed and autumn arrived, peaceful daily life returned to the Salinger family. One Sunday afternoon, the whole family was enjoying a picnic in the backyard. Aubrey and Finn were teaching Veronica how to play chess. "Grandma, this piece moves like this," Finn explained enthusiastically. Veronica laughed gently. "You two are so smart. Grandma can't keep up at all." Aubrey took Veronica's hand. "It's okay, Grandma. We'll teach you. We're family." At those words, tears glistened in Veronica's eyes. "Thank you, both of you." Nicole and Zion watched the scene from a short distance. "They really are wonderful children." Nicole rested her head on her husband's shoulder. Zion pulled his wife close and replied, "Yes, thanks to you." That night, after the children had gone to bed, Nicole went to her study. She sat down at her computer and took a deep breath before facing the screen. Chapter 1: Searching for Lost Bonds. Nicole quietly began typing. She had decided to write a book about their experiences over the past few months. Family bonds are sometimes tested by trials. But when those trials are overcome, the bonds become stronger. This is our family's story. A journey that began with fear and distrust, leading to the discovery of love, understanding, and true bonds. As she wrote, Nicole looked out the window. The full moon's light gently illuminated the garden. There, she felt new hope and the strengthened bonds of their family. She smiled and turned back to her keyboard, hoping this story would reach the hearts of others going through similar struggles.